all you need. Ba-da-da-da. Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing, show number 120, and coming to you on Black Friday. Morning, Greg, one of your co-hosts. As with being the uniqueness of this day, I don't know if my co-host will want to join me. I know that there's lots of things to be doing on a Black Friday. All good things, actually, considering that I think last year we were seeing the demise of retail, and of course over 6,000 stores have closed retail-wise this past year. But in light of the happiness of what Black Friday seems to be giving, I think there's a little bit of a rebound effect, kind of similar to, hey, this is new, let's try this, and this online shopping thing is really great and convenient and awesome and fantastic, and let's do this, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that means all the stores are going to go away, it's only going to be online, and people did it. But there's still a certain holiday joy associated with the retail aspect, purchasing gifts and so forth, that comes from actually going to stores and looking. Yes, it's crowded and busy and standing in lines and so forth, and I'm not trying to put lackluster to that, or gloss to that, I should say. But it's a year now later that the retail industry has had a chance to kind of see what they can do to combat some of this online stuff. Some of them have adopted more online functionalities. The Walmarts of the world and so forth with the delivery functions and free shipping and so forth. But then there's also the other retail operations where they're offering only in-store offers. It's substantially massive ones. I mean, if you're watching the news, you notice that Macy's is giving away $500 worth of coupons for $500 worth of purchases, which means $500 worth of stuff is free. Now, granted, markup prices and whether it's really worth that value or not, but you're still getting free stuff. Trick is you have to go into the store and there's a certain shopping list of things that you can buy from it, and they're only available for a time in the store. Once again, recategorizing the value proposition of Black Friday and making the physical effort to drive and go and shop and do and all that kind of stuff to it. Now, that said, travel tends to take a bit of not a backseat to this, but anybody that has been in the marketing space for hotels and hospitality, at this time of year, it's not really the most productive marketing strategy time to start pushing out your holiday opportunities. Why? Because there's literally so much white noise that's going on. I mean, people are in a retail mindset right now, more so than pretty much any other time of the year. And because of that, thinking about travel plans and so forth as gifts, sure, they'll go and discover on their own. And if you have opportunities and value propositions, they should be represented on your platforms. But to spend a larger sum of money in online advertising, or any advertising really, at this point, you can get lost in the clutter because you're not the main focal attention for purchases at this point. It's more of a retail function. And then, of course, from a travel perspective, nobody really buys somebody else a travel package unless it's immediate family, in which you can guarantee that your kid's going to go with you, or your wife's going to go with you, or your husband's going to go with you, brother, sister, what have you. Of course, if there's certain anniversaries and family events, then getting travel purchases for family is a safe bet. Or with friends, but other than that, it turns into a proposition of gift certificates and transitional gifts. Now, gift certificates, for those who market those for the product, is a incredibly beneficial time of year right now. As a matter of fact, you should have been doing this as of, September, beginning to offer value propositions to your gift certificate programs. And with the show and the fact that I get to do this myself, which is kind of funny, it's like having a birthday party and inviting people and hoping that not a lot of people show up so you can have all the birthday cake. I get to spend a little time pontificating on some of these things with it. With gift certificates, you're allowed to create a personalization with the people in purchasing, not just the people that are being purchased for, but also the people that are purchasing them for those people that are receiving them. That sounded very confusing. The purchasers and the receivers. How's that? And because of that, you can ask for a lot of additional information because it is a transaction, and you can create a relationship value proposition with them. Some of the very successful case campaigns that I've done is where during downtimes or holes within your revenue cycle strategy business-wise, you need to be able to solicit to a group of people that would be interested in your message at a time that there's less interest in your product, off-season, slow times, midweeks, what have you, by giving the value proposition add-ins. So say, for instance, I buy a $500 gift certificate for a family member. And as an incentive for me to buy that for them, I give them, I as the hotelier, give the purchaser their own gift certificate or increased value of a gift certificate. So for a $500 gift certificate, I actually give them one $500 gift certificate and a $100 gift certificate that they can either choose to continue giving to the person they're buying it for or keep it themselves. But then the information about the purchaser and the receiver are in my hands. So then I offer them, because I have a slow period coming up sometime in the near, whatever future, whatever time of year it is. It doesn't have to be during the same time that they purchase the gift card. A value proposition says that for every $1 of gift certificate value that you have, I'll honor it at $1.25 or $1.20 or $1.10, whatever increment of value you want to give it. So now you're saying my $100 gift certificate is now worth $125, or my $500 gift certificate is now worth $550 or $500 or $600, depending upon the increase you want to give it. It's gonna be fresh coffee, espresso actually. That's what made me run right on time. Was sometimes the machine runs fast and sometimes it runs slow. So now my piqued interest is in, because now it's like, oh, okay, so it's not the price that's so concerning to me because I'm literally spending free money. Or you can give value proposition in the property itself if you're one of the full-scale, full-service, full flags, where you can go over and say, hey, we're going to give you this value proposition at the spot because you're a gift card holder. Spend $1, get $1, these kind of things. But they give you a not an excuse, but a validation of communication with the recipient of the gift card. And this is a wickedly valuable tool. And this is the time of year that you can sell your largest listing of those. Now, this goes beyond just the selling rooms or rates. For those of you who do Christmas buffets and Thanksgiving buffets and so forth, getting gift cards and associated, they give them a value proposition that you can say, hey, look, bring a family of 5 or more. When use your gift card for spending or paying for them to be here. Sorry, I'm missing the words. And we'll give you an extra value of 2 more people or 1 more person or 20% discount or whatever it may be, to solicit them to use their gift card for something like a Christmas buffet or a New Year's party or what have you, where they see the value proposition having had the benefit of buying the gift card with you. Now, from the purchaser's side, there's a wonderful strategy with this, not just from the hotelier's point of view, but also from the retailer's point of view. All too often, at this time of year, there are discounts on gift cards, just as we're talking about. And that's a really cool value proposition, because one of the neat things to do is, like, for instance, if you're an American Express card user or any credit card user, really, you have the ability to purchase redeemable gift cards via their platform for an amount of points. So if you're looking at free on top of free, if you acquired the points on your credit card to purchase a gift card, and in turn the gift card also has a bonus package to it like we just described, you got free money on top of free money. Then you can go in and buy something on sale, and you get free money on top of free money plus a discount. So these combinations are great. Sometimes I find myself where I actually go into like a big, like a Costco or Sam's Club or something and buy gift cards simply to turn around and use them to purchase something that was on sale at that very same store, because the value proposition of the discount associated with them and the discount of using the gift cards, in addition to using the credit card itself. So little strategies of retail, I guess. And I know I'm not the only one that does that, but by the same token, if you weren't or haven't been doing it, it's a little bit of something to do. So anyway, one of the fun things about today's show that I get to do, being by myself, I'm gonna try to do a little screen share stuff. We often, because we have such great co-hosts and great guest co-hosts, we get caught up into a lot of the newsworthy stuff. We very rarely, as we have had in times past, we've been doing the show for over 2 years now. I used to have a higher section on tools and functionalities and so forth. And if you've been a patron of this show, you know that there is differing opinions as to the usability and value proposition of some of these tools in market from the perspective of scalability. I, on one end of the spectrum, tend to believe that for those who are starting from a zero-up proposition, using some of these functionalities validates a larger scaling of the usability of the processes of them, meaning that if you're in a position that you are not doing SEO, you can't validate or don't have the funds to hire a professional organization to do SEO for you, then you need to find a tool that can help you with your SEO strategies. Then once you validated the value of being better at your search engine optimization, that can either go to the ownership of your property or to your own decision-making as to affording a larger scale operation to handle it more professionally for you. My other co-hosts, such as Edward St. Ange and so forth, believe that this is giving weapons to a child in some ways, where they don't know the damage they can cause from it, and can hurt themselves rather than help themselves, and either lulling themselves into a false sense of success, or in creating paradigms of problems that are going to take twice as much work to get out of because of the stumbling around learning curve that they would create for themselves. So we've expressed both opinions to this, but I still am a firm believer in tools. I will be sharing some of the tools not only that I use, but also that I recommend to some of my clients to use, or at least investigate the value proposition for problems that are A-specific to them. So we'll get to a little bit of that. I also have a few interesting news articles that we're going to hit a little bit today. The show probably will not last as long because, as you know, most of our conversations go down rabbit holes and tangents. And even though I talk a lot, as those that follow the show know, and those who know me personally know, I do not intend to fill a 2-hour program just with me talking, although I might be able to. But I'm not going to do that because I too am going to try to enjoy Black Friday and run around and get some stuff done because it's kind of a bit of a holiday feel. It's the start of the deeper holiday season. Halloween kicks it off. This brings it into a real Christmas shift. And so we're going into the deeper holiday season, holiday parties coming up and so forth. So I'm in that mindset to get into the holiday spirit today a little bit. So you don't notice me normally drinking coffee when there's 4 of us jabbering. So there'll be pauses in our conversation today. So with that, let's hit some new stuff first. Now, let me do some screen share so we can kind of pop over to this. And we will, let's see. I think we're going to do that and do this. And that should bring us over to screen share. Okay, come on. And share. Okay. Let's see if that works for us. Yes, the infinity screen. No. First tool up that I want to just talk about, because this is where I look first for newsworthy items and things that we discuss on the show. If you're not familiar with a program called Feedly, feedly.com, it's a great place to go over and pull RSS feeds for those who are familiar with that terminology. These are the constant postings of posts associated with newsworthy categories. If you look over here to my right, you see that we have a long list of different sources, from anything from T-News to Skift to For Hoteliers, Hospitality News, a lot of great industry leaders like Hebs and so forth. The Tambourine's in here somewhere. You may have them differently categorized. But this is where I pull some interesting content from, of which I'd like to go over and point a couple of interesting articles. We're going to hit this one first. This is from T-News. And this one is Sweating the Assets, How Hotels Are Using Their Space in New Ways. Again, kind of to my discussion of the retail function, the first impact of a change is unfamiliarity and orientation, trying to understand what this means to your industry and so forth. Now that Airbnb has been in the space in some markets for a while, some very smart and intelligent people within the industry have begun to realize what that means in reflection to their own inventory. The article really goes towards addressing the issues of, well, look here, for instance, Sweet Spot. You can see what I'm reading, so I'm not going to read it for you, but basically 35% of Airbnb's listings are 2 or more bedrooms. There is a interesting revenue management strategy that most of us pertain to that have suite type hotel rooms, that they're the last sell, that they're the high-end stuff. And to a point of argument that we've had on the show many times, and we've had many revenue presentations around the world, is that sometimes we hold on to it too long, or we end up resigning and giving it away to a preferred guest simply because it was going to go empty if we didn't, and might not get some intrinsic value of giving that to someone so that we can build some loyalty relationship with them or reinstill a loyalty relationship with them. But it was built as a revenue generator. So it should be sold in a specificness as a value proposition and not just as a default handoff. Yes, there are seasonality demands for suites, and you're not going to be able to sell a suite in a non-demand cycle because of the complexities of just you can't sell that much. You'd have to sell for every other room, and it's not worth the cost, the internal cost of the turnover of the room, the actual cost of you sitting in housekeeping and so forth to do everything from towels to cleaning, to actually sell it at that rate. So you'll let it go quiet simply because it's more affordable for you not to sell it than it is to have sold it and have the cost associated with it. But barring those types of exceptions, redefining how you're selling your products, such as your suites, is a very good critique of yourself to look at and see in comparison to. Keeping local is another one that they refer to in the sense of how to maximize your unused services that you have. I mean, you have all this staff, from concierge to front desk staff, bellman and so forth, your shuttle bus services and so forth. All these things are built for functionalities and they have their own cost relationships in your P&L and so forth. But these are things that your competitions like Airbnb or smaller scale or what's called limited service properties do not have access to. So utilizing their value proposition, oftentimes what you'll see is that if you have to negotiate your rate through processes in comparison to your market segment, that you can value add these things that you're already paying for. They're already in your infrastructure of hotel operation, and use them in a more yieldable means to develop value proposition to your guests to identify you differently than your competitors that A, have the same product that aren't using it, or B, may not have the same product you have. So interesting conversation about that from T News, and we'll not worry about that. I love those things when they pop in. A couple articles from TripAdvisor, or about TripAdvisor, I should say. This one's from Skift. And this one is that the Senate is urging the probe over the U.S. The removal of reviews. And this has been in the news for those who are keeping in pace with our news, where there were reviews of certain resorts in Mexico that were purposely omitted, and actually she was blocked from posting because in reference to a tragedy that happened to her while she was there. This is a specific case that they're referring to. That raised a huge question as to the unbiasedness of TripAdvisor, whether there is a process that's going on that is keeping things in a favorable relationship between TripAdvisor and hotels, especially since hotels pay for their functionality a lot on TripAdvisor, is the big question that came out of this. We've had this as a live discussion on our show before. And with that, I would say that there's always concern when this comes up, that TripAdvisor did take a hit about this a while back. Now there's a Senate investigation. The interesting point that Skift makes about this is, given the fact that we are, and this next week is a huge problem with the FCC neutrality decision, very bad news on that. Very bad news that if we go over and take the neutrality out, it'll turn into like cable function of paying for access. If you have any sense of value to this proposition, you need to reach out to Congress and to your Senate representation and indicate your displeasure with them even considering the idea of taking the neutrality off, because it will turn into a, oh, you want that level of access, that's going to cost you this much more money, or we're only going to show you these compared to these because you only pay for that and not this. So we have to keep the neutrality there, or you're going to lose a lot of the value proposition that the internet has provided us. So with that, it's saying, hey, you know what, all bets are off. Given the lack of understanding of what this administration and government are doing, it could turn into a bad issue. Which brings us to our next statement, and that is, where are we? Oh, there we are. TripAdvisor tanking, more visitors, less bookings. Focus just rolled through, and he told investors in early August that it's still very early, but these efforts are showing signs of success. Apparently not, according to source Martin Kelly here out of For Hoteliers article magazine, is that TripAdvisor is not getting the revenue generation from its current model, even though volume of visitors has grown and exceeded 455 million. Booking revenue is down, so the monetization model is not working as was told that it would be. Now, we've had this as a discussion as to the purpose and intent of TripAdvisor, and as it refers to here, that it's trying to be a streamlined hotel shopping experience, meaning that you can review and critique and understand and purchase all within the same ecosystem. Well, half of that is going on, and half of that, as we just mentioned, was challenged by its authenticity or unbiasedness as to its value proposition, and the other half is on the decline. So TripAdvisor has not been having a good week this week when it comes to its perception in market, and of course its actual value of revenue in return. Some off to some other articles, which are kind of fun. So the Smart Way Independent, this is, you see I Harvard on 4 hotels. I had some really good articles pop up this week. The Smart Way Independent Hotels can manage distribution. Again, you're going to see this word over and over, and that is data leading to successful distribution. One of the key elements to this, and this was a discussion that has come up many times before, Cindy S. Screens just released her third section to her demystifying distribution program for HSMAI. We've had questions as to its total perspective, because it's not a total 52-week study, or at least the results were not reflected in the total 52-week study, which we hope to have Cindy on the show to ask her a little bit more in depth about that. Having attended their most recent webinar, reviewing some of the executive summary information associated with it, it is interesting as to its leading conclusions as to the value proposition of direct channel distribution and brand drive for membership or rewards membership, and its value creation and displacement OTA channel. The reason why I bring all that up in a very fast sentence is channel distribution is fundamentally one of the most important things that any hotelier can do in understanding what it is that they're wanting for yieldability. It's just not any business is good business, but where that business comes from is as invalid as not having business at all. What do we mean by that? Well, you have your channels of OTA distribution, which are in the 18% range, let's say, in average, which is a good percentage of cost distribution for it. And I've often been in conversations where it has been asked, well, if it's only costing me 18% to acquire guests via OTAs, and yet I get a sometimes advertisement cost or channel cost to get an acquired guest of 25 or 30%, why would I ever spend that much more money in comparison to just letting the OTAs drive the business for me? To that end, and to that article, to that conversation, when it comes to channel value, is if you're always going to be reliant on someone else to give you business, when they choose to not give you that business or have a choice of to give you that business versus is it giving to someone else, your competitor, you're at their mercy of decision. The more you create a direct channel value communication with your guests, when you can communicate with them and solely for them, a little bit of our discussion as to the gift certificate cards and what have you, then you are creating a communication that is not tamperable by outside influences. Others can still reach the same person with their own relationships or OTAs with their distribution funnel mentality, but you can communicate directly with them because you have the relationship to do so. So yes, it may cost more money to create that relationship, but we often have the discussion on the show. There's two things I think that are a dying understanding mathematically. One is the displacement cost of a group coming in. People don't really know how to math that anymore. And the second is lifetime value of a guest. And I have to say, one of the despondent things I heard in Cindy's presentation in the webinar that they were doing was they actually muddled the lifetime value proposition by redefining lifetime value only into assuming that the guest was to return 1 or 2 times maybe. And even then, there was a questionable value proposition to that. They didn't define it in any other thing other than the returnability of the guest maybe 1 or 2 times, but we're not defining them in the lifetime value. And I thought that was a strange thing to say, since lifetime value is literally, by terms, lifetime value. How often that person and their frequency of the returnability to your hotel, and what value does that represent to you in the long-term sense? And that goes to kind of the antithesis of the conversation of membership and loyalty, because if you're driving true membership and loyalty in these direct channel programs that the brands are doing or have done, then that value proposition of lifetime should actually increase because you're creating the relationship of value, not decrease because you're only giving them short-term gain. So lots to understand there. But again, going back to this article that we have on the screen, the data leading to successful distribution, the usability of it as a channel control cost is actually one of the most fundamental aspects of how any hotel can go over and determine its opportunities. Another, of course, is path to purchase, as pointed out here. And that is, you'll notice the huge value proposition OTAs provide in their guest user experiences because they've really redefined the 3 clicks to purchase mentality. And what that means is at any time with enough information at any moment, it only takes 3 clicks within the website for them to actually acquire a room. Where if you look at your own path to purchase, you may find that it may require, let's see, click to after you do your date availability, then there's the click as to options, and there's a click for information about the room, and then affirmation as to the variables associated with the room, and then there, how many clicks that might be, and then there's the click into the reservation, then of course you have the data feed into the information to make the acquisition, and then you have the final click to purchase. You're way beyond the scope of what most of the OTAs successfully have narrowed down to a very quick acquisition process. So those are things that all hotels can do. The article is very interesting. All these links, I will throw them onto the sidebar as we're doing this, as a matter of fact. Let me do this real quick. And throw that over into the chat. Link here on this side. So you have that one. And that is the Smart Way to Independent Hotel Management Distribution. Now let's go jump over to another article also from the 4 Hoteliers. And the kind of the antithesis of our TripAdvisor conversation, this is for Facebook. And Facebook is announcing new features. Now, if you're not already in the Dynamic Ads for Travel, DAT programs, it takes a little bit to get into it. There's no lie to that. You have to make sure the inventory has availability for inventory pull. Platforms like DerbySoft and meta-search platforms, basically connectivity platforms in which they're connected to your online booking engine, can draw inventory and rate at a very high rate in the millisecond range for accuracy and authenticity. It even has to be available for that. Now, many presentations I've done for HSAI and the Rocket program, we talk about dynamic ads and how much more impactful they are. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with Facebook dynamic ads for travel, we've all seen what's called static ads, which is an ad, a visual ad that says, blah, 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 hotel, rates starting at $99. And you click it and you go in and there's not a rate for $99 to be found anywhere. You may have, when you made the art of the ad, had a handful of rooms for $99, which justify you putting that price in there. But they were long since gone, or very, very few to be found, and on no dates that anyone was interested in. Well, dynamic ads for travel takes that problem out because, of course, the conversion value of those ads is very, very low. It really, and if anything, irritates most people than anything else. Dynamic ads for travel allow for you to post an ad, and the rate goes in the ad as there's actual inventory for. So if you put in there and says, $99 room, okay, then when they click on it, they're actually going, and there is $99 rooms because the inventory is available for them. Now, add to that the fact that you can identify what interest types they have by filtering their demographic profile into their geographic location, so you can indicate that in the ad itself. Your brand preference, whether they're a member of the brand that you're associated with or not, that's a loyalty program-based connection that you can create. All these dynamic features to the ad really improve the conversion value of a dynamic ad. So when I see an ad and it's for an XYZ brand that I like in a city that I'm interested in going to, at a rate that I'm interested in buying, and a date that I'm interested in staying, I'm clicking on it, I'm finding it, and I'm much higher in the opportunity of converting because of that than I am in just discovering that the rate bait offer that was given to me no longer exists and it's not on a date that I could get to anyway. So with that, Facebook has expanded this. So instead of all the individual, you can also do broad audiences. Now, as I've kept the screen up, I'm sure you've already read a little ahead on this, where it's including broad audiences allow advertisers to serve dynamic advertisements to users who have expressed destination-level intent, but haven't been to the brand's website or app. That's a definitive difference because most of the dynamic ads that are available up to this point were because I had to have already intersected with them at some stage to then represent to them information that brought them to me to begin with. Now, I can go over and simply, because of the ancillary interest, they're interested in my destination market, let's say, or they're interested in my brand type, or they're interested in some other aspect associated with me. There's too many details to get into about it. Then I can now target them to be more, to see dynamic ads for myself. So it makes it much more. Here's the funnel they're referring to in this sense. Really interesting expansion of the Facebook dynamic ads for travel. Really useful if you're in this space. And remembering too, very cost affordable in comparison to most your paid or display advertisement that your travel ads that you're running on your other normal traditional digital marketing advertising campaigns. Facebook is still a great value proposition source if filtered correctly, especially when it comes to dynamic ads. So with that, I think we hit all the ad content or the article contents that I was interested in discussing. Now I get to do the fun stuff, which is talk a little bit about tools. Now, we don't get a lot to talk about with tools, so I wanted to kind of hit some of the tools that I like using. They're by no means inclusiveness. This is completely just a sampling of things to do. Now, we talk about sites like SERPstat, which is a search engine statistics place. If you want to do your own SEO research on your own site, great tool for seeing that in competitors. I don't want to bring that screen up because I couldn't hide all my clients that I have connected through the account. So I want to just make sure that we had referred to it before, referring to it again. But this one I think would be kind of fun to start off with. Surveys are underutilized in the sense as to the opportunity to expand your relationship with your guests. They can be pervasive and ineffective because you're asking too much at a time that they're too little interested in giving you information or feedback. And they can be overtly barren because people are realizing the value of their insight. And by not giving them something, by asking them something, you're really diminishing the value proposition of what the survey can provide for you. And there's a variety of survey platforms that are out there. Anything from the SurveyMonkey, which is pretty much the big gorilla, pun intended, in the room when it comes to the ability to do surveys. And then there's other ones like this called SparkChart that allow you to create surveys. Now, keep in mind that there's three primary elements to any relationship with your guests. There's the pre-arrival, expectation, anticipation. There's the in-house, which is duration and guest satisfaction. And then there is the post-stay, which is recurrence, value, and communication continuation. And in all of those three is the ability to ask some questions in a reasonable way, in a reasonable list that give you an indication of opportunity. In your pre-arrival, you can ask for interests. values that they would like to know about. I say this from a more basic sense that back way in the day, when video images, or excuse me, display picture frames first came out, a few of my hotels, what we would do is we would put a text on there saying, hey, if you're interested, as people are checking in, they look over the display frame, it's the image frame, and it's scrolling through images like, hey, you want to know more about our spa? Text us at 41111 spa. Or if you want to know more about our lunch specials or dinner specials, so forth and so on. And so they would do that. And then that would allow us to put them into a system that just before, and this goes down to more traditional things, first day capture, morning breakfast is your highest, for anybody in the hotel industry knows. That begins to diminish over time the longer the stay, because the more exploratory your guest wants to be. So on the second day, okay, and same thing for first day lunch. On the second day, just before the second day lunch, when they're considering leaving your property and going somewhere locally, you push them a great buy one, get one or something, BOGO. And here they're enjoying themselves. They were just ready to go to the room to change clothes, to leave the property, get in the car, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you know what? The food was good the first time. Well, now we're getting one free and keeping one. Let's just head on down. And then boom, all of a sudden now you have better internal capture. It's into a spa and so forth. Well, that's a little bit to the survey program. If before their arrival and building up the anticipation, you go over and say, what are some great things you'd like to know about when you get here? Now, 2, what are you going to do with that information? Always when you do a survey, the first question to answer is, what am I going to do with the answer should I get it? So if I'm asking them what they're interested in, then what am I going to provide when I have that information? If I know that they're interested in certain events, can I provide the content back to them when they arrive or pre-arrive or whatever methodology you want to give to them? By asking, not just to ask and get nothing for it. Like they show up at your front desk, say, hey, I told you I love, such and such food. What happened with that? I mean, do I get a coupon to your restaurant for the food? Do I, make sure the fulfillment or at least the conclusion response is there for you. What would you do with the answer? That's an example of pre-arrivals. In-arrival is guest recovery. The only time that you can really fix a guest issue is at the time that they're there with you. I mean, other than compensation and apologies, and post-stay, you really want to, your best opportunity for guest recovery is while you still have the guest. So if that is true, then if you can engage them while they're with you in some survey format that says, hey, you just checked in. Was the room to your satisfaction? Is there something that we can get you? Is there something you're immediately, right now, this moment interested in? Are you hungry? What kind of food would you like to eat? Click us here and we'll give you an answer. That kind of, so just don't consider surveys as being static, multi-question, it's actually an excuse of dialogue, excuse of questioning to say, hey, look, I have you. I want to make sure you're happy. I want to make sure I'm giving you the best service I can. Please let me know what I can do to help you. What is it you need right now? And of course, if there's any issues that they're having at that time, they can share that with you, which opens up the excuse then to say, wow, we're going to send up whatever the solution is right now. Or we're going to fix that right now. Or you know what, we're going to move you to another, we're going to come up and move your bags to another, whatever it is, that's the resonant factor of success at that moment is in-house. Now tailoring surveys into the post-stay. They've left. One of the worst things, and Ed's the one that really brought this to our attention in many shows back, I say well over a year ago, and that is asking a guest what was wrong with their stay just after they left. Even if they had a great stay with you, they feel obligated to find an answer to that question. And in so doing, you're asking the last official dialogue that you're having with that guest at that moment to be a negative reminder. Yeah, you know what? The bed was really lumpy. Yeah, bed was lumpy. And they type that in. Now, that's the last thing that floats in their head. So when they come back to the recurrence of lifetime value of a guest, they come back, that might be the first thing that pops in their head, or at least they're reminded of the fact that that's a feedback they gave you. And without you getting back to them saying, yeah, we're replacing all of our beds or something, they're going to remember that the bed was lumpy. So out of all the great stuff that your hotel or resort may have done, that brings to the focus something that you didn't do. So why do it? Instead, and it's the one that suggests this, what was the greatest thing about your stay with us? What did you enjoy the most with us? The bad will come through it if there was bad to share. If they didn't share it during their stay, if you didn't do your job in communicating with them during their stay, and they felt there was something still left to tell you, so that they would, hopefully you would improve upon it for return, which is the spirit of what Bill Marriott did when he did the surveys first. Well, they don't come out in the conversation, but at least they're wrapping it in, I really enjoyed this and this was really great, but the beds were kind of lumpy. And we can get back to them and say, you know what, we're so happy you enjoyed this and enjoyed this. And, the bed, we appreciate that. One, we'll go look at your room to make sure it's just not your bed, the bed that we have been giving you. But secondly, if it is something like that, we're going to look into whether that needs to be corrected. And thank you so much. We hope on your next visit back, that would be a concern, whatever it may be. So surveys have a very valuable proposition in that whole communication stream between pre, during, and post. With that, as you've been staring at this screen, is a really simple, affordable way of creating these types of surveys. And you can use them in your dialogue pre, post, and stay. Now, for those who have brands and those who have platforms like TravelClick and so forth, translate what we're saying about this tool into the tools you already have available. All of the things we just discussed are functionalities within, say, TravelClick's swallowing of Z-Direct. That they have all these functionalities, workflows, and things that you can create for the process of acquisition to departure emails, and surveys can be included in all that. And surveys are an art to itself as to how you structure the questions, whether they're conditional, meaning if they answer yes, they get the second question. If they answer no, they move on to the fourth question. So there's a lot of process to it, but they're an incredibly useful tool. And this is a neat little platform called SparkChart that's affordable, easy to work with. All right, switching gears, another tool, one called PixelMe. Now, this is kind of fun. This one goes into the ability to create shareable links that then drive you creating a frame around your share. So say, for instance, you're not a big content generator, or there's just, and this is usually the case, there's better content generators in your market. And because of that, you would be second fiddle at best, more like white noise to most other people, because you're not an authority on the topic. You are in the market and you're an authority on your product, but you're not authority of your market. Taking case if you're in the New York market, there's just too many good voices providing too many good context of too many different audiences for you to think that you as a hotelier are going to be able to broad spectrum content that will be resonant with so many diverse people in such a volume that you are the authority to so many with so few. So better yet to adopt good content that's trending well and that you can identify with because you relate to it because you're in that market or you're resonating next to whatever is being discussed, and you send it with a wrapper around it that has a link saying, hey, if you love these kind of things, click here to we're next door to this, or and it gives them a small bar on the bottom of the post, and you share those links, and you can receive value proposition by having your link associated with their link. Okay, so in the world of sharing content, you get to share somebody else's content, but still get to keep some aspect of your messaging and connectivity to your content. So that's called PixelMe, another affordable platform that you can create lots of functionalities to it. I'm not going to do a tutorial on it by any means, but I wanted to give you a sense of showing the different click-throughs for it. All right, this one is to your group sales people, a wicked prospecting tool. Now, LinkedIn has amazing amounts of tools. If you're not already leveraging and using LinkedIn, you should be. And if you don't know what it is to do with it, they have free training on LinkedIn for their business management programs, their business lead gen programs, their pay for programs. There's a tremendous amount of ways to isolate out and identify targeted future clients for your hotel, for group business. But there's also a means of finding those within certain markets beyond LinkedIn. This one is called Find That Lead. Fun aspect of this is, I don't want to give an example of this just because it is just too crazy not to show. Say, for instance, I'm looking for my top businesses in, I think my click is, there we go. All right. So I can check a location, whether it be city, state, or what have you, company name, or everybody that works within a company, an industry type, company size, if I'm looking for scalabilities, job titles, if they're a CMO, CFO, whatever, or their skill sets, they're a meeting planner or catering service or whatever. And you can identify each of these categories. And once you do, it creates a list for you, which is very slow on the screen to show back. I've created some just to show you that it just, and then what you do is it does an appending. It'll go and search. Let's see what we have here. I'll pick one I did for a friend. He does fitness training. So I said, I'll make you a quick list. And what it does is it'll create a list showing the confidence of whether the email that they have with them is related to the person that they discovered. And then you take that list and you download it. and you make a custom audience out of it, let's say for Facebook, which is identifying them specifically. And then in Facebook, you then make a lookalike audience, which is a larger, relatable audience that is almost like the people you just found, but now categorically are filterable with all the information associated with them on Facebook. It is a wicked tool in market for people to discover the type of business or type of position or company size or whatever have you to develop specifically, because so many times the salespeople have the challenge of trying to get past the gatekeepers within an organization, the receptionists and administrative assistants and so forth, that don't allow you to talk to the person you really need to about this old sales school stuff. Back in the day of blitzes, remember? For those of you who are still doing them, please don't. Just use Facebook, but that's another story. But it gets a chance for you to find new leads, which is kind of fun. So that one's called Find That Lead, findthatlead.com. All these links, again, will be in the show notes at hospitaldigitalmarketing.com/live or hospitaldigitalmarketing.com/120, which is the show number for today. This one is a scary tool. This one is for social insights. This one will allow you to see what socially the competitors you choose are doing, whether it's page statistics, their fans, their posts, if they're doing paid media on social. You can compare against one versus the other as to what they're doing, what they're showing, so you can really measure up against your competitive set, what you're looking at in comparison to them, how successful they are doing what they're posting, whether they're spending money towards stuff, what are their fans engaging with, what are their lead fans that you can do, both for Facebook and Instagram. And the sad part is, you can actually pull down that data and then begin to target them yourself. It's a very, very cool program called socialinsider.io that allows you to do a lot of social comparisons. Remember, these are tools, to Ed's point, can be dangerous. You can hurt yourself with them because you're going to start making some false assumptions or false interpretations if you're not really understanding the data that you're looking at. Not everything is as it seems. Red always isn't bad and green isn't always good. Negative isn't always bad and positive isn't always good. But if you understand how to interpret the data and to look at it over a period of time to understand the frequency value of that data, these tools can be valuable to you. So please don't take them at face value. Please don't go over and just think that this is an end-all solution. It's a silver bullet that says, if I get this, this will show me exactly what I need to know. No, it will show you some aspect about what you need to understand, but it isn't a final solution process for you. So, interesting tool for it. Now, other one is, and this one we've talked about before, but again, I'm enamored with this product. I love using this because for me, sometimes I hit that creative wall that I just don't know what it is I need to post or how I need to post it or when I need to post it or what else should be posted. So using tools like I just showed you, Social Insider, giving me some insight of what my competitors are doing, I can again, though, look and see what things I might need to attach myself to or work with as well. This is called Promo Republic. And what this does is, as you can see by the screen, a wicked amount of tool. These are all the things that are today's topics. Then these are things that are recommended specifically for what I have based on my categories that I've chosen for them. These are all the categories that are available. Let me hit travel here and see what we have. It has a great amount of templates and tools and graphics and things that you can use to create your own personalizations and posts. Now, this is not the super coolest part of it. I'll get to the super coolest part in just a little bit if you haven't seen my other show talking about this. But these are, travel tips through there. These are all things that are in here that are live and active that you can attach yourself to. Remember that other program I just showed you, this PixelMe, that you can put your stuff around it. You can put the post into PixelMe after you find out whether or not that it was relevant to your competitors. Put it in PixelMe, bring it to Promo Republic, take it from Promo Republic and post it. So here's all this great fun stuff. Now, Antarctica, what does that have to do with you? Probably not much of anything, but you can search by keyword, you can search by platform, you can search by article type. This editor function allows you to do your own creations with just tons of functionalities, tools, things that are already made that look great. You don't have to be this massive graphic artist. You can take one of these things, modify it, put your own images in, put in your own content, obviously. That's the intent of it. And then use this look, if that's what look you want, all these different things you can do here. Let me go back and I'll show you the really cool part that I like the most of, and that is the calendar. the calendar to me is the most intriguing aspect of this program. And go to events. It shows you all of the trends and holidays and histories and sports, everything that's going on for the week, which I find absolutely fascinating. And if any of these things you want to do, like National Stuffing Day, if you click that, you can actually post that directly from here, which makes it a lot of fun. Because you don't have to worry about, oh, I got to cut and paste this and that. It's like, nope, you can just actually click it right here, add what you want to say to it, and post it straight from here. So fascinating thing for it. That's it for our tools. That's what I have for tools. All of these tools and news items, articles, and some that we didn't even really get a chance to talk much to and about are available at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live or hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/120. Like I said, I didn't want to take up the whole day or the whole normal length of show, knowing that I would get to play solo today. But I appreciate the chance to kind of, like I said, have my own birthday party and have more cake. Get to chat on my own topics and bounce around with a bunch of stuff. So I kind of appreciate the opportunity to have done that. I don't like doing it too often, mind you, because I enjoy the company with all my other co-hosts and love the dialogue. But it was kind of fun as a change of pace to do this. So there's a recap to what we talked a little bit about today. We have Feedly, feedy.com, which is a great resource for news articles and so forth that you can kind of garner and do a quick purview of interest over the course of the day. For tools, we have the we'll go back first, Spark Chart, which creates your surveys, PixelMe, which creates a bracketed connective link to any posts that you share from other sources, to find that lead for your group salespeople that can help them append and find people within their organization or organizations within whatever market you designate. Then you have Social Insider, which is a competitive social media for Facebook and Instagram comparison analysis tool. Then you have Promo Republic, which is your ability to create and define calendars and topics and trending, as well as create your own postings from it. And then there was also SERPstat, which is one I didn't want to show, but talked about before, which is a great source of determining SEO placement and how well you are organized on your website for any technical errors and issues. So it makes you an intelligent conversation with whoever you're handling your website if you are an independent hotel or non-branded hotel or a branded hotel that allows independent websites. So with that, I will say thank you so very much for taking the time on your Black Friday, or if you, as we found, we get a lot of people, thousands of people that watch the show about 2 weeks after we have the show. We have a good amount of people, hundreds and thousands here or there kind of thing that watch the show live with us on the different platforms, which Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube. But the real interesting aspect is that we get a lot of people 2 weeks afterwards that watch the show. So for those who are watching this from our Black Friday show, number 120, thank you so much for again taking the time with us and looking through this and taking the links to our tools that we get to share today. For my fellow co-hosts that are enjoying the Black Friday, I hope to see you again next week, show number 121. We did have a guest host that unfortunately got booked or something canceled. He had to take on something else, so we're not going to have him. I think this is like the 4th or 5th time he's canceled on us. So I don't know whether I should take it personal or just the fact that he's so good that I'm willing to say, hey, well, we'll pick another time. So we'll hopefully eventually we'll get him on. But with that, we hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We hope you have a great weekend. And we look forward to you on our next show, number 121, which will be next Friday. So until then, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next Friday.